This is your old friend Maria Vasquez Boyd here for ArtSpeak Radio. I want to welcome you today, our listeners who are tuned in online at www.kkfi.org or listening through your phone, your radio app on your smartphones, because they're really that smart. And of course, if you've tuned in to 90.1 KKFI, Kansas City Community Radio, you know that this is ArtSpeak. We have some wonderful guests in the studio today. We have Kester L. Horn-Marsh from the Kansas School of the Deaf. We also have Sherry Gable, who's the bilingual assistant ASL tutor and teacher from the Kansas School of the Deaf, and also Takako Kearns, who is the art teacher there at Kansas School of the Deaf. And we also have Sandy Kelly, who's an educator for over 30 years with the School for the Deaf, and now she's the director of the Deaf Cultural Center. On our second half of the program, we have author-writer Patrick Dobson to talk about his latest novel that follows up his story Seldom Seen that he wrote a few years ago, and we'll be talking to him about in the second half of the program. Now, I'd like to introduce Kester L. Horn-Marsh, who graduated from Asl University with a BA in English Education and an MA in Deaf Education from the University of Kansas. He is a high school language arts teacher at the Kansas School for the Deaf in Olathe, Kansas for 7 years before becoming the bilingual specialist. He is also an AEB PD bilingual mentor in his 8th year at Kansas School for the Deaf. He taught ASL courses in the Foreign Language Department in Lawrence Public Schools for 7 years prior to the Kansas School for the Deaf, as well as at the University of Kansas for 4 years. Now, he's also a freelance interpreter and works for Forensen as a video relay interpreter. He is an OCODA with 2 deaf children and 3 hearing children, and he enjoys farming, camping, kayaking, and hiking. And finally, he has co-written an article called Bilingual Students Publish Works in ASL and English. So I want to welcome Kester L. Horn-Marsh. Hello, my friend. It's good to see you again.
It's nice to see you too, Maria.
Terrific. You know, we have so much to talk about today. We have Sandy Kelly again, like I said. She's the director of the Deaf Cultural Center in Olathe. Welcome, Sandy.
Welcome. I'm pleased to be here.
Terrific. And next to her is Sherry Gable of the Kansas School of the Deaf, and Takako Kearns. Now, they both organized a youth art competition at the school, and I believe this was the first year, right?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. They launched a new national youth art competition for DVIA, which is Deaf View Image Art at the Kansas School for the Deaf, and they also partnered with the DCC, the Deaf Cultural Center in Olathe. So let's talk about what that competition is about. So would you like to begin, Sandy or Kester?
I think I'd like to hear from Sherry and Takako.
Sure.
And this is Sherry speaking. There are quite a few deaf artists nationally who are deaf, but there's a lot of different types of artwork. But DVIA is a special kind of artwork that describes the deaf experience with deaf culture, language, and history, all inclusive. And we had a vision of deaf teachers teaching deaf students to increase their pride in creating artwork related to their own experiences. And now Takako is speaking. Chuck Baird is a KSD graduate who is the father of DVIA, and he had a dream. And his dream was to keep alive through future generations this type of artwork or this art style. And a few years ago, yes, it was 2 years ago, we had a DVIA workshop of national professional artists, and their dream was to set up a national competition. And so 2 years later, here we were ready to set up this art competition nationally.
So DVIA was created in 1989. And what is the importance to the deaf community and the students at your school? When you began this competition, was there sort of a light bulb moment where the kids were so excited, or just uncertain.
And this is Sherry. Like I said, with deaf art, there is general art typically that deaf people produce. And for many years, that was the way it was. But Devia is a specific type of art that's related to the language or culture or history of deaf people. And so our young kids typically draw or paint pictures with hand shapes involved. So, for instance, if they were to draw an elephant, they would draw or paint an elephant with the hand shape describing the trunk of the elephant. And hearing people typically wouldn't understand these types of artworks. But for deaf kids, it really shows how they cherish their language. And Takako speaking, as an art teacher, there are a lot of young deaf children who have artwork inside, just wanting to get out. And so all I do is kind of lead them in the direction. So, for instance, like if we look at a butterfly, the sign of butterfly, and they will want to paint pictures of butterflies with hands on them. A lot of kids will have poetry inside, drummed up through their life experiences that can come out through paintings instead.
I do want to tell our listeners that for more information about Devia, you can find out about their manifesto and view the works of art. The website is www.deafart.org. So if you want to take a look at what we're discussing today, you'll see the range of work, some complex, some very abstract, but it will give you a better understanding of what we are talking about today. I know that Chuck Baird was mentioned, and he played an important part at the Kansas School for the Deaf. So his contributions played a large role in this competition. So what can you talk about the theme of the competition this year at the school?
And this is Sherry. We didn't have a specific theme, but we did want to talk about remembering Chuck Baird.
He's passed away.
Of course, the next competition, we might have a specific theme. Yes, Chuck Baird died on February 10th, interpreter error. He died on February 10th, 2012, and he was almost the age of 65. He passed away from cancer, and this is Takako speaking. We don't really have a theme because we want the artists to be able to freely express themselves through their art. So it's a lot easier for artists to express themselves and to send us their artwork without a theme. We had 152 pieces this year, and we were really thrilled with that turnout. And we had 6 different states participate. One state even had a school where deaf kids were mainstreamed with hearing kids. And, a lot of these kids don't have experiences with Devia, but we do provide a lot of artwork for these kids to view and kind of gain an understanding of what type of Devia style this is. And we do offer a Devia curriculum across the nation, which we started last year, and that will be offered again this summer to help advance Devia curriculums within their art departments, and hopefully more schools will offer that within their art programs.
Well, there are certain guidelines for this competition that you worked within. Was there a particular size, or did it have to be framed and unframed work? Can you talk about that?
And this is Taco. As far as size, this year we decided we needed to stay within the realm of 11 by 14. There was a category of 2D art. There was photography art, graphic design, and I think that's it. We also had categories of age levels. We had K through first grade, second through third, fourth through fifth grade, and we had middle school category and a high school category.
So with so many submissions from other schools, did you have, I'm going to ask, who judged the art for this contest? Was it local folks?
And this is Sherry speaking. We had 3 judges. 2 were from out of state. One was Ellen Mansfield, who is a professional Devia artist from Pennsylvania. Or actually, it could be Maryland. She creates pictures for book titles, and she makes lots of murals across the country. And then our second judge was Nancy O'Rourke. She's from Colorado, and she also is a professional Devia artist. She's very well known throughout the country within the deaf communities. She trains teachers. She gives workshops for children. And the third judge was local, Erlene Hicks, and she's an avid artist. She has a background in judging. She judges lots of contests. And it was just those three judges.
It must have been very difficult. When you have that many submissions for art, it must have been very difficult. If you would like to share with our listeners the winners, the first and second and third winners of each, I'm sure they would be thrilled to know that their names were announced.
Okay. It was overwhelming to have so many submissions, but we had the judging occur online. The judges could go ahead and do that at home, and they viewed it online and picked the winners from that. For kindergarten through first place was The Hand Shape of Fish, and this is from Kansas School for the Deaf. And the winner is Allie Brown. Grade second through third grade, first place, was the title Eye of Hands. And this is from Wisconsin School for the Deaf. Leela Chapin. And then grade fourth through fifth, we had first place of Alicia Arispe from Wisconsin School for the Deaf. And this was a self-portrait by this student. And she was signing her name sign. For middle school, first place, Molly Bracken, and the title was Asleep. And this is from Wisconsin School for the Deaf also. And the high school category, first place, was from also Wisconsin School for the Deaf. This was Teresa Baumgartner, and the title of her piece was Swaying Candle. Okay. And then the high school category for computer-generated art, first place was from Kansas School for the Deaf, Renata Rose, and her title was Magic Hands.
Terrific. Congratulations to all the winners. Terrific. Now, the work itself, is it being exhibited at the Deaf Cultural Center or soon will be, Sandy?
Yes, I think that's the plan. I'm just waiting for Takako and Sherry to be able to bring over the work so we can have it on display, and we're anxious to have it there so people can come and see it.
And for our listeners that have tuned in, we're talking to educators and a bilingual specialist from the Kansas School for the Deaf at 450 East Park Street in Olathe, Kansas. And also we have Sandy Kelly from the Deaf Cultural Center, and that's at 455 East Park Street. Sandy, let's talk about the Deaf Cultural Center. For visitors that come into the center, and it's open Tuesday through Friday from 10 to 4 or Saturday 10 to 3. What will they see? Well,
for one thing, we have an outstanding museum. It's absolutely wonderful. And that's just part of what we do at the Deaf Cultural Center. Mm-hmm. So we have the museum. We also have outreach programming, and we provide information, resources, and referrals for anybody who might have questions about any level of hearing loss. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting because just recently I was talking with an individual from Washington, D.C., who commented that the Deaf Cultural Center in Olathe, Kansas is the only public Deaf History and Deaf Cultural Museum in the United States. There are a lot of museums, deaf museums, but they're connected with schools. So we're the only one that is actually a standalone.
Right. You're near the campus of the Kansas School for the Deaf, but you're not incorporated into the institution there.
And that is very confusing to people because we're right across the street, so people assume that we're part of the school, but we're not. We're separate.
So what are some of the events or things that happened at the center that involve community?
We offer sign language classes for folks. We also have some really fun events. We have a monthly patio party where people can come and learn stories about artifacts from the museum. We do that once a month. We also try to highlight local deaf artists, and we do this once a month during the morning. We have an event called Morning Mingles, and all of this information you can find on our website at www.deafculturalcenter.org.
Terrific. Now, when you get the work from this competition, will you have a reception or sort of an award ceremony? What's going to take place?
Well, I think what we're going to do is actually have this be part of our morning mingles.
Ah, terrific.
And so that way we can introduce it to people that show up, but then it will be on display for at least a month at the center.
And will folks be able to meet the artists at this time and maybe talk, or will they be able to talk about their work, sort of their ideas?
Yes, that's exactly what our plan is. Good. Unfortunately, we cannot fly the Wisconsin folks in. I wish we could. Yeah. Maybe in the future. But hopefully the students from the Kansas School for the Deaf will be able to come over and explain their work and talk about the competition.
Are there plans for the artwork to travel elsewhere, like maybe in some of the schools that competed for this competition? It's just a one-time?
This is Takako speaking. Actually, no. We want people to view the KSD homepage, ksdeaf.org, and click on the Via icon, and then they can view all the winners from all the different categories there. And this is Sherry speaking. Each school who has winners, they can have their own award ceremonies for them and recognize their artwork, and they're more than happy to do that. And, of course, we'll send the awards, the certificates, for them to be able to do that at this time.
Terrific. We're going to take just a real quick break. We've got some underwriting, and we'll be back with Kester and Sherry and Sandy and Takako.
Supporting 90.1 FM, the KC Clay Guild, where you can participate in glazing your own pottery at their Raku Night fundraiser on Saturday, May 9th, starting at 4:30 until 10 p.m. You will get a finished mug and a piece you glaze and they fire. Raku Night includes food and live music from the Kanza Swamp Band at the KC Clay Guild, 200 West 74th Street, Kansas City, Missouri. That's May 9th, Raku Night. For more information, including adult and children's classes, kcclayguild.org.
The American Friends Service Committee's Move the Money Listening Project heard from 46 different community leaders discussing community needs, budgeting and tax cutting, military spending, and better priorities for our community. Ira Harrett will highlight that project's findings and discuss ways we can shift the debate from austerity to investing in our future on this Wednesday's All Souls Forum at 6 p.m. right here on KKFI.
This is ArtSpeak Radio. I'm Maria Vasquez Boyd on 90.1 FM KKFI, Kansas City Community Radio. We're talking to members of the Kansas School for the Deaf. Yes, I've left your names at my other desk. We have Kester Horn-Marsh. We have Sandy Miller. Kelly. Close. I have Takako Kearns and Sherry Gable. Thank you so much. Well, we want to invite listeners to the website for DEVIA, which is www.deafart.org. deafculture.org. We're going to talk about some of the works of art that you'll see. If you want to just tell us some of the names of the works that are just well, I know they're all outstanding, but is there some work that you have specifically that you want to talk about?
And this is Takako speaking. You can actually view the winners at www.ksdeaf.org, and you just click on the Devia icon there on the homepage. That'll take you to the winners. Let me select one. For instance, the Ali Brown winner, the fish. This is a hand shape of an actual fish, like the ASL classifier that deaf people would use for the sign for fish, and she's painted a fish around the hand shape, or the hand is incorporated within the picture of the fish. Mm-hmm. And so that's one piece for a really young student.
Now, is that painting? Is it tempera? Is it watercolor? What is the medium?
It is tempera paint, and it has a wax string that is stuck to the painting, and that is made up of the hand shape.
Very good.
Okay. Let me select another piece here. For a middle school piece of work, first place, this is the one entitled Sleep. What this has is two people sitting side by side, and one person is starting the sign for sleep, and their eyes are open, and then this person next to them is finishing the sign for sleep and is actually fallen asleep.
And again, is that painting? Is it sculptural? Is it collage?
It is painting again. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it uses only primary colors, yellow, blue, and red in that painting.
Okay.
I believe the students were studying about the artist Nancy Rourke. And this is an artist, Nancy, that typically uses just primary colors. She has the intention of using those colors for specific reasons. And I think they were studying her art at that time, and then the students made projects based on what they researched. And then another piece, which is an honorable mention. This is actually a student that I taught a unit for. It was abstract painting. And so the student uses tempera paint, and you can see two hands put together with eyeballs on them, and then a mouth on it as well, because deaf people communicate with their hands. And so that would represent their mouths, and then their eyes is what they use to hear with. And so their eyes are on their hands as well to complete that loop of communication.
Well, and for our listeners, I just want to reiterate that the Devia Manifesto, it represents deaf artists and perceptions based on their deaf experiences. It also uses formal art elements with the intention of expressing innate cultural or physical deaf experience. So these experiences may include deaf metaphors, deaf perspectives, and deaf insight in relationship with the environment, both the natural world and deaf cultural environment, spiritual and everyday life. And, the works that I've seen on the website, very colorful and beautiful images, using painting and different techniques, maybe some collage and that. So, I would encourage you to check out their website. Now, I did find this statement, which I thought was really beautiful, that goes, being deaf isn't a disability, but a different ability. And I think that's just a wonderful statement to have in the culture. Sandy, when people come to the cultural center, is there a connection with the deaf community, or are they just trying to learn and sort of understand the world of deaf culture?
That's a great question. We have a variety of visitors that come through the center. A lot of individuals are deaf themselves, and many of these visitors are from out of state as well as out of country. We've had a lot of individuals from other countries that have been able to come and visit. I also see individuals who are losing their hearing and are concerned about what they can do. And hopefully we're able to provide them information that will help them with what they're experiencing. We also have school groups that come. A lot of the school groups or scout groups like to come and participate in some of the events that we have for children to gain a better understanding of deaf culture. What's really fun is that probably most of our volunteers are members of the deaf community. So it's a great experience to be able to find that you really can communicate with individuals, even if you don't know the language itself, which is part of what we're trying to do, break down that barrier.
Yeah, it's good to know and educate others about, the world around us, not just what we know. We only have a few minutes left. Is there anything else that we need to bring that up? Or I do have to ask you, with this year's contest so successful, do you plans for next year's competition? Is that in the works?
And this is Sherry speaking. Yes, we would definitely want to continue this from year to year, but
absolutely.
I think we might change from photography to 3D or something along the lines of ceramic, because that is offered through K through 12 art programming. I don't think that kids at the younger ages are more skilled at photography, so that's one change we would make for next year.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to that. And Kester, when you were on last year, we talked about the ASL. Is that happening this year too?
Yes, the Asl Bowl Competition is taking place every year. In fact, we had 4 out of 6 first places at the regional tournament in Minnesota. So we took home 4 out of the 6 first place medals. So we're really proud about that.
Absolutely. And that takes place in the fall? Around November or so?
October is the local tournament, and then November is when the regional tournament happens, and this year it's going to be in Oklahoma.
Terrific. Final words, anyone? Well, I tell you, I do want to thank Sandy Kelly, Director of the Deaf Cultural Center in Olathe, Sherry Gable, the bilingual assistant ASL tutor and teacher for the Kansas School for the Deaf, also to Kako Kearns, who is the Kansas School for the Deaf art teacher, and of course, Kester L. Horn-Marsh. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You will come back and see us, right?
Absolutely.
Terrific.
Definitely. Thank you.
Very good. We're going to take a real quick break, and we'll be right back with ArtSpeak Radio.